France for the Olympic Games. Shout out to my guy Anthony DeVore and his daughter Mariana listening in the morning. He says he disagrees with 33% of our football takes, Shasky. He's the pride of SI. Anthony DeVore played with Luke Whitehead at SI, played basketball and football.
What 33%?
I don't know. Some 30. He's disagreeing with me right now. He's saying, it's Walsh. Come on. It's Walsh. Hey, Anthony. I see you, man. Relax.
Walsh admitted in the big games he did get tight.
He did get tight.
I mean, in his memoirs,
he lost a lot of big games.
He wrote about it. Like, now he had a great bowl record as a college coach, but we're talking about the professional ranks, and he admitted that like the big games he felt helpless at times because the emotions would overwhelm him. Some guys get calm. Some guys are 4 steps ahead. That's why I
second guessed everything he did. Every loss,
yes,
he agonized. Mm-hmm. He agonized over it. So part of coaching is communication, right? How much of a leader can you be? How much can you communicate to your players? And where I'm getting to is part of it is Bochy was a great communicator.
Yes.
Steve Kerr's a great communicator. How was Walsh as a communicator? He was good, but he is also standoffish towards his players.
You brought up something that I actually think is one of the hardest traits for some personality types to understand. You have to accept that the decisions aren't always going to go perfect.
Yep. And
on some level, you need to allow a little bit of failure. And there are a lot of coaches out there, and Stan Van Gundy's one of those guys. Shaq referenced it as we're talking about Steve Kerr. He's a panicker, and he overthinks, and he's second-guessing himself in real time. Sometimes you have to make a decision and let it play out.
Roll with it.
And just let it play out.
Steve Kerr wears it. He makes a decision because, look, man, I'm going to roll with it. Communicating. Can your players walk in and talk to you on any given basis? Part of Kuminga and Kerr, I think this was a great lesson this past season where Kerr wasn't playing Kuminga much. And Kuminga was not happy. Then the articles come out, him and Kerr have a sit down, and next thing you know, Kuminga goes on to average 20 the rest of the season. So communication. When it comes to communicating, Bochy and Kerr, I think I would give them a step above. I'd give them a notch on Bill Walsh in terms of that communication. Bill Walsh just did it differently. He didn't want to be close to his players.
No.
He didn't want to do that. He thought that would hurt the team as opposed to helping the team. Where Shanahan, you see Kyle Shanahan right now, seems like he's buddies with all these guys. He's vacationing with these dudes in Cabo every year.
It's all about winning the big one, right? But there is, to win the big one, you got to have like career years out of people. Of the guys that we're referencing, who got the most out of their players?
Bill Walsh, Bruce Bochy, Steve Kerr, Tony La Russa, John Madden. Somebody said, John Madden, what about John Madden? John Madden's got the one Super Bowl, but he got the most out of his players.
Yeah.
He got the most out of his team.
They also went up against the Steelers and Dolphins.
Right. And they went up against future Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, it was very difficult.
Every single year. So
and
they had a great run in the 70s. Great run. Seifert was quirky. Might be Boch. Might be Boch in his
because I can make the argument, like if I'm making an argument on behalf of Steve Kerr, Curry clearly got the best out of Curry, got the best out of Clay,
maximized him,
got the best out of Draymond. I think at the time got the best out of Bogut,
got the best out of Kevin Durant.
Absolutely got the best. We got the best version of Kevin Durant. Warrior fans,
not even close.
So that's like 5 guys. Now there's less players in basketball. Otto Porter, Jordan Poole, like. Go right down the list. Yep. Kevon Looney. How many teams are making Kevon Looney the whole Kevon Looney thing work?
Not a lot of players.
How about Gary Payton II?
Looney. GP2 is a good point. Good point. You got the best out of Andrew Wiggins. Best out of Sean Livingston.
Andrew Wiggins, hands down.
Wiggins became an all-star. Andrew Wiggins became an all-star.
That might be his crowning achievement. No, I'm not. I don't mean that.
No, you got the best out of Wiggins.
We
may have gotten the best out of Poole. We'll see. We'll see. He's got a long way to go, Jordan Poole. He played well the last 6 weeks, but he may have gotten the best out of Jordan Poole.
Now, as much as we talk about Montana and Walsh, like the best season for Montana was like 89 and 90. Like, statistically.
Under Mike Holmgren as OC and George Seifert as head coach.
Now, look, I'm here to hear, like, well, if he doesn't learn all this stuff from Walsh, then he can't carry it over. And if Walsh's roster isn't as good as what they, Seifert and Holmgren inherited, like, I understand, like, there's layers baked into this. But if we're going, like, just best seasons, you can make the argument Montana's 2 best seasons are 89-90.
Yep, under Mike Holmgren. And you can also say that Bill Walsh almost made a decision that killed the locker room. that would have broke apart the locker room. The Steve Young, Joe Montana quarterback controversy. Or Mike Holmgren, he tells us the story all the time whenever he comes on the roast, and those coaches are sitting in there. It's like, Bill, you need to make a decision about the quarterback. It's killing the team.
Yeah.
You need to make a decision. And Bill storms out of the room, and he's sitting there in his office. And you read his books, he's always going back to his office with his face in his hands, thinking, oh, what am I doing?
I've ruined it.
Oh, this and that. He's too damn emotional at times, which is why he had to step away. He was drained.
Yeah.
He was drained by the Niners. Then he finally made the decision. But imagine if he says, we're going with Steve Young. They don't win that Super Bowl against Cincinnati.
No, I don't believe Roger Craig becomes Roger Craig without Bill Walsh. To go from fullback to halfback and to do what he did with his skill set. And I consider Roger Craig one of the evolutionary steps forward for the position of football. You don't get a Christian McCaffrey. You don't get a Marshall Faulk. You don't get any of those guys without Roger Craig.
Right.
We're all in agreement there.
Yep.
Clearly, he got the most out of Dwight Clark.
Yeah.
Right. Now, Jerry Rice is an interesting one. His best statistical season was with Walsh.
87.
But you could make an argument, like a fine wine, he got better with age.
He got better and better and better.
But he's an outlier.
John Taylor.
Taylor?
And John Taylor was telling Guru and I at the Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame about the story where he was like, hey, Bill, I could return punts, right? Bill was like, no, you can't. And he finally does it in the Hall of Fame game. And then he gets tackled by the punter, right, at the end. He almost breaks it back. And John Taylor walked by Bill Walsh and goes, yeah, you're right. I don't think I can return punts. Well, John Taylor, because a punt returner, his punt return turned the season around in '88 against the Washington Redskins on Monday Night Football when they go beat up 37-21, and they don't look back and they go on to win the Super Bowl against Cincinnati. So I don't know, man.
Did he get the most out of Ronnie Lott?
Absolutely.
Right.
And he made the uncomfortable decision in telling Ronnie, you're no longer a quarterback. You're a safety.
What?
Ronnie was not happy about that.
No, but it ended up making him one of the greatest safeties of all time.
One of the greatest defensive backs of all time.
Hands down.
In
Right?
both positions.
I think of someone like,
Eric Wright.
There's so many guys. Like Walsh, because he drafted them, he identified them, whether it's Wendell Tyler, whether we're talking about, Ricky Waters, like whatever. He had his hand all over all these selections. And so Walsh gets a ton of credit. Now let's go to the Giants. Did he get the most out of Matt Duffy? How about Joe Panic? How about Brandon Belt? How about Crawford?
Well, Brandon Belt had his best season with Kapler.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
That. Yeah. He had his best season with Kapler.
What about Lincecum?
Lincecum faded under Bochy.
He won two.
No, I know, but he faded at the end. Lincecum was unplayable.
I think he got the most out of Tim Lincecum.
Well, yeah, I think it's safe to say because the tail end of Lincecum wasn't pretty.
Matt Cain as well. Johnny Sanchez.
I can't argue against
Brian
that.
Wilson.
I can't argue against that.
Andres Torres.
We count lightning in a bottle with that boy. Oh boy, Andres Torres.
He got the best season out of Aubrey Huff.
Angel Pagan.
Angel Pagan's a great example. How about Hunter Pence? Because I think that's an interesting one.
I thought Hunter Pence had better years in Houston.
Okay.
And Philly statistically, but he was. I mean, I'm not trying to diminish what he did with the Giants. I mean, he became a champion with the Giants.
Yeah.
But if I look at Hunter Pence offensively, if I pull up the numbers, it's just.
Well, he hit 28 home runs his contract year, I believe, 27 or 28 home runs with like 90-something RBIs. What was it? It's probably a 290 average. Pull it up. I want to say 2013.
So he had, the most home runs he had was 2013 with the 27, 99, and 22 steals.
What was his batting average?
In Philly, 2012, 2011, 2012, he had a combined 24 home runs. Batting average in that contract year was 283.
Oh, a little lower than I thought. Okay.
But he had some years with Houston. Second year, 25, 83, 11 steals, 25, 72, 14 steals.
Had a hell of a
25, 91, 22, 97. I mean, then he kind of slumps in 2011, goes to Philly. Actually, he went to Philadelphia that year. Hunter Pence had a damn good career, better than I thought. But the years in Houston was really, really good. But his best season happened under Bochy.
Really? See, I would have thought offensively he would have had production somewhere else. I knew that at contract year he was a monster.
Right.
Like Vogelsong, I think I got the most out of Vogelsong, right?
Travis Ishikawa.
How about Bumgarner?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got the best out of Bum.
Bum
was a first round pick, but he got the most.
No
he
doubt.
Maximized him.
Brian Wilson. How about Santiago Casilla? Sergio Romo? Jeremy Affeldt,
he got
Javi
the best of
Lopez.
these guys.
I mean, I think Walsh and Bochy, and Kerr, I think the common denominator for all three of these guys that we're talking about,
they maximize their players
almost across the board.
Isn't that what it takes? Like Phil, when you think of Phil Jackson and Popovich, maximizing their players
across the board.
Across the board.
Ron Harper on those, he was a good player, and then he went to the Bulls, and it was like, oh wow, I really underrated how good he was.
We forgot how good he was in Cleveland. Ron Harper, when he was at the Cleveland Cavaliers, was a 20-point per game scorer. Dude was averaging over 22, had a knee injury, kind of fell off the map, goes to Chicago, and is a vital part of that three-peat, the second three-peat for the Chicago Bulls. Tony Kukoc. You managed Dennis Rodman, for crying out loud.
Lamar Odom.
Oh, yeah.
Lamar Odom, yeah. Later on, you got the best out of Pau Gasol with Phil Jackson. So 888-957-9570. Steve Kerr, 10 years and a week to the day he was hired, May 14th, 2014. What is a moment that sticks out with Steve Kerr that really catapulted him into the Mount Rushmore of coaches right here in the Bay Area? Or do you even have Steve Kerr in your Mount Rushmore of coaches in the Bay Area? Some may say John Madden deserves a spot.
Over Curry? I mean, over Kerr?
Some may say that.
Madden's imprint on the sport as a whole for broadcasting the video game and coaching is going to be higher than Kerr. But, longevity is a part of it. And, you have to win. And when we're breaking down the greats.
For John Madden, he does have the highest winning percentage ever for a head coach. Ever.
And he was 8 or 9 years?
He was 10, I think.
Was it a full 10? Yeah. I didn't know it was a full 10.
He always said it too. When somebody asked him, they lost the AFC Championship game to Pittsburgh. May have been the Immaculate Catch game.
The Immaculate Deception?
Yeah.
Agreed.
I agree
the ball
with
hit the ground.
Oh, that was
9 years, by the way. To your
9 years. Okay.
It might have been 10 seasons,
great.
But it says 9 years, so I never know.
You ever watch Football Life on that?
It's
the Football Life on that? It was great. And the fans on the field scowling at the referees, waiting for their call. And John Madden was like, who are they calling on the phone? Fans are on the field. There's no way if they make that call and it goes the Raiders' way, they make it out of Pittsburgh alive. The fans are literally on the field.
You know what gets slept on before that final drive? Kenny Stabler had one of the greatest scrambles in the history of the sport to put the team up right there.
Wow.
And no one talks about it.
Matt didn't even want to play that game. He was like, dude, this turf is unplayable. Pete Rozelle didn't care because he was sticking it to Al Davis. It was unbelievable. But Matt said after that game, they were like, you keep losing all these big games because, dude, we won a lot of big games. All these games are big.
Yeah, to get to
all these games, like that's why with Shanahan to say, oh, he can't win the big one. I'm starting to push back on that. Say, okay, I know he can't win the Super Bowl, but damn it, they've won a lot of big games under Kyle Shanahan.
And as we talk about Bochy, Kerr, and Bill Walsh and I would put LaRussa there as well, and Madden and the common denominator on all the great coaches, Andy Reid currently, they maximize their guys. When I look at Kyle Shanahan, I don't think Debo works anywhere else but here. McCaffrey's been great. He ain't been this great.
No, he ain't been this good.
Ayuk's a really good player, and I think he'd be good in a lot of places. I don't know if he'd be putting up the year that he put up this last year anywhere else. Brock Purdy, are we sure he'd be as good anywhere else other than with Shanahan?
He wouldn't have been on the team if the Niners didn't draft him.
He
would have been an undrafted free agent.
So I think, as we're talking about these other great coaches, I kind of have my eye on Shanahan, and I'm saying he's pretty damn good. For all those anti-Shanahan fans out there, or I guess non-fans.
Everybody loves Shanahan, don't they?
There's a lot of people, to your point about winning the big one. People like Steve Kerr. People think he lost them the 2016 finals. Yeah. He lost them the 2019 finals. He lost them the play-in game this year. And I don't think you're putting enough pressure on players. Yeah. Players have to make plays.
Players got to make plays. Ernest Brown did bring this up. Andy Reid, he thinks will maximize Debo. I'm with him.
Okay, that's one coach.
Andy Reid, McVay maybe. McVay will figure out a way to use him. Maybe Matt LaFleur. But there's not too many coaches who could maximize Debo.
I give Matt Eberflus.
But you know what, though?
Debo Samuel.
But you know what, though? It's kind of disrespecting Debo.
No, I'm not disrespecting
No, I'm not saying you are, but Debo's a baller. That's just as much as he drives us crazy, Debo's a damn baller.
But I think in football, this kind of goes back to why coaching's so important. The right situation does matter.
It does. Situations matter. Steve Kerr's in the right situation. Bochy happened to be in the right situation with this great pitching staff and his great bullpen. And you had a great architect in Brian Sabian.
Absolutely.
Who made all the right moves to say, okay, this is what we need. Like, he went out and made the trade for Hunter Pitts. He went out and tried to make the move for Jose Bautista, and then he gets popped. Or not Jose Bautista, Jose Guillen. Yeah. And then they make the move for Cody Ross. You know what I'm saying? They made the move for Javi Lopez to bring him to the bullpen. They made the move to bring in Jeremy Affeldt to the city. They made moves in season, and hell, Pagano was a freak. You know what I'm saying? Sabian he deserves a lot of credit too. So the tandems, I think we're getting to the tandem of Myers and Kerr, the tandem of Walsh, Policy, DeBartolo, the tandem of Bochy, Sabian, and Bobby Evans. Pretty damn good.
So Kerr's 10 years here, he's had a lot of adversity. I know we all think that like they just roll the ball out, they're going to win the championship every year. I mean, they have had a lot of adversity. Early on, it was Steph Curry's injury. Like, you're just concerned about it. There's the David Lee dynamic, which we were talking about.
Did we even know Klay Thompson would be the two-way player that he became? I didn't.
I didn't
think he could defend like that.
I didn't
think he'd be a guy where you say, all right, Damian Lillard's come to town. Go ahead, Klay.
I didn't think Bogut could be healthy for a full season.
Right.
No, I'm being real.
Yeah.
I didn't think that could happen. I didn't know if, Harrison Barnes and Andre Iguodala, they would be able to navigate who starts, who doesn't, the way that they did. I didn't know if they'd be able to navigate the bench the way that they did. And then later on in his tenure, clearly there was some issues internally with Durant and other guys on the team.
Yep.
The Jordan Poole situation, losing Steph Curry for an entire year, very reminiscent to losing Buster Posey in 2011.
Navigating injuries with Kevin Durant and Steph Curry during the championship years. We thought Kevin Durant may be out for the season his first year with the Golden State Warriors, or Martin Gortat threw Zaza Pachulia to Kevin Durant's knee. And you had to navigate those tough waters.
Plus the rib. Don't forget the rib injury.
Oh, yeah, the rib
injury for Durant was big.
Rib was big. That was big.
I mean, in the 2016, when Curry hurt his ankle and was out for we had a Ian Clark game, for crying out loud, in the first round.
Did have an Ian Clark game against the Pelicans. 888-957-9570. What is Steve Kerr's greatest accomplishment as Warriors head coach? Another question for everybody out there, 888-957-9570.
What is his greatest accomplishment?
Which coach was the best at leading the team through adversity and tough times? We are getting ready for the Eastern Conference Finals. I think these coaches have done a good job with their teams. Like, looking at Chris Finch and what he's done with Minnesota. That is a hell of a coaching job that he's done up there in Minnesota. To bring that franchise 4 wins away from an NBA Finals appearance, unbelievable. But not lost on me is Jason Kidd. Think about what Jason Kidd has had to do with Kyrie and Luka. He's got Kyrie on straight. Kyrie's become a leader of that team, and now it's Luka he's working on. That's a hell of a job Jay Kidd has done. But 888-957-9570, what is Steve Kerr's greatest accomplishment as Warriors head coach? Is it the rings? Is it the coach of the year? Is it managing egos?
Is it Andrew Wiggins? I mean, to do what he did with Andrew Wiggins being the number 2 player on that team,
it's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive.
I mean, that to me feels like the cherry on top of the icing of the championships.
I think taking Steph Curry to another level.
Okay.
Unlocking Steph Curry.
You don't think Steph was ever going to get to that next level?
Under Mark Jackson? I don't know. Would Mark Jackson have played Steph Curry off the ball?
That's a good question.
The way Steve Kerr did. And put the ball in the hands of Draymond Green. Put the ball in the hands of Andre Iguodala.
And demand the amount of passes that they did.
300 passes per game.
Yeah,
we want 315 passes per game.
Yeah.
We want 30 assists. We want to play inside out. Even though they were this 3-point shooting team, and a lot of people say, oh, they're 3-point happy, they're a finesse team. The Warriors were leading a lot of categories. They were leading the NBA a lot of those years in points in the paint. They were getting 2 feet in the paint and getting layups because of all the split action, because of all the cutting, because of all the movement. They made playing off the